Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica Podcast. I am Mustafa, Sherif, an urban planner, and you're more than welcome to join my big journey of exploring the making of smarter and more livable cities. Please don't forget to follow Urbanistica on the different social media platforms, and also let's connect on LinkedIn. Big thanks to Urbanistica podcast partner AFRY. AFRY is an international engineering and design company providing sustainable solutions in the fields of energy, industry, and infrastructure. Are you ready for a new episode? Let's go for it. I have the pleasure to welcome you to Host of Urbanistica Podcast. Hello and welcome.
Thank you so much, Mustafa. Pleasure being here.
I'm happy that you're here. So how are you doing?
I'm great. It's a sunny day.
Yeah.
It's a lot of opportunities, a lot of things upcoming. So I feel super excited.
Yeah, a lot of reasons to be happy.
Yeah, exactly.
So the topic of this episode is super interesting. And when we met and you told me about what you do, I was like, we have to talk about this. So I'm very happy that you're here. So let's start with you first. How would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Well, my name is Thomas Pickelner. I'm 37 years old. I am a father of a son who's turning 4 this summer. My background is within journalism. So I used to work at Swedish TV, both TV4 and the public service channel. With a lot of different roles, everything from reporter to news host in the mornings for the sports news and things like that. I used to run my own production company as well. But then a few years ago, I also launched an organization for dads called DaddyHood Europe.
Yeah.
That's my big heart project at the moment.
Yeah, so interesting. But what are you passionate about?
Well, I'm passionate about a lot of things. First of all, to make people happy, to also make an impact on society and try to make a change. I'm passionate about storytelling in general. I'm very interested in people. That's why I guess I became a journalist from the start. Yeah. And that's why I also work with the productions as well.
Amazing. So how does it feel now you're doing a podcast? You usually work with videos and images. Now it's only audio.
Yeah, no, it feels good as well. I'm used with using my voice, but it's normally me asking the questions. So for me, it's fun to get the questions now.
Welcome to the other side of the game.
Thank you.
So tell me about the background, of you starting DaddyHood Europe.
Yeah, basically when my son was born, and also before that, I was living in Brussels.
Yeah.
And we went to like a prenatal course for expats in Brussels, which was good. But I was really lacking like information and focus a little bit also on dad's topics. Like that, the only thing that we got specifically for fathers was how could you support a mother during pregnancy and birth, which is great, of course, but I felt a little bit left out because there was so much focus on the mothers. Yeah. And when also after I became father, I felt a bit lost and lonely. I was trying to find, information and groups for fathers. Specifically.
Like lonely in which sense?
I felt lonely in as becoming a father also because I had no friends who were fathers at that time. I was like first in my gang to become a father, and I was also living in another country at the time. So I felt like, and I saw that there was so much happening for mothers. Yeah. But not so much for fathers. And then we're speaking about like our goal with the whole organization is to inspire, educate, and support fathers towards equal parenting. But then the opportunities and information specifically for dads compared to moms is very unequal at the moment. Yeah. So that's the gap that we're trying to fill now.
Yeah. So that's how everything started. Like you noticed that there's not so much for you as a dad, and you wanted like to fill the gap.
Yeah, exactly. So first I was trying to find information and find groups. I didn't find it. And I was like, okay, if there's nothing out there, then I might as well create it myself.
Exactly. But like you were looking for like a community of dads, but You are looking for a community for dads, or like more information how to take care of your child?
Both actually.
Okay.
So both like the network and the support, and where you can just feel like share stories or get information from other dads, but also knowledge and courses or whatever, like anything actually.
So how did you start? Like, okay, you decided I want to start this. And tell me later, how did you do that?
Yeah, so first I was thinking like, okay, what can I do with this? And then I was thinking like, okay, maybe just to try to create a place where fathers and kids could meet. So the first idea, which is still might happen, is to create a cafe for dads and kids where they can meet and have fun together. And, you know, but then that developed to like, okay, but actually, there's so much here to do. And then I found another friend who was actually at the same prenatal course as me, a guy called Marino from Croatia, and he felt the same. And then was like, okay, but let's make something bigger out of this. And that's how we came up with to make a non-profit organization instead.
Yeah. And then how is it like as a non-profit organization, but is it also like kind of network that how can I be part of it?
Yeah, so the whole idea is to create a network as well. So I mean, we're active in social media, of course, and then we do also create events for fathers or fathers and kids to come, and also the whole families. We try to just gather as many dads as possible that share the same values as us. To be present fathers in the kids' life.
How was the beginning, like when you started like your first activity?
Well, the first activity was great. It was quite small scale.
Belgium, right?
No, the first activity was actually in Croatia.
Okay.
So we had an event for fathers and kids where like fathers with babies basically and they all came to do a little workout together with their babies that I held, because I'm also a personal trainer as a background and run coach. So we did like a little father-baby workout. And then we had also like discussions about fatherhood topics, sharings about, how you feel as a father, what are the pros and cons and challenges, and also giving each other some support and advices.
That's cool. How did they react, the dads?
They were super happy that there was something happening for dads. Specifically in some countries like Croatia, it's not much happening. And so they were super happy that it was an event targeting fathers, and where you can be open about fatherhood topics, because it could be hard to discuss with your partner, for instance, or sometimes even with friends. But if it's a group with random people that you never met, sometimes it's easier also just to open up and be honest with what you truly feel.
Yeah, and then you started like to do more activities, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
can you tell us more like about other activities?
Yeah, so our biggest project so far is something we call the DaddyHood Dadathon, which is that we created to inspire fathers to move and get moving together with the kids, to create healthy habits already from a young age for the kids, but also for the fathers to get moving, because a lot of fathers also, might not have so much time, or they are not prioritizing physical activity anymore. But then we thought like, well, it's actually a great way to do it together, no matter if your kids is a baby and you can run with the stroller, or they are a bit older and you can do it together as well and get out and get moving. So to fulfill the full Dadathon, it consists of 3 different sports events basically. The first one is running, the second one is biking, and the third one is hiking. And if you do all these 3 events, which are different months during the year, so normally the running event is in May, the cycling event is in June, and then the hiking event is in September. So we created that as a virtual event first during the pandemic, and we got about 500 dads from 25 countries joining.
So many.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it was great. And the feedback was great, and the fathers thought it was fun. The kids also thought it was fun to do. They know that it was fathers and kids from all over the world doing this.
Yeah, exactly. It's big.
Yeah. And then from there, when the pandemic was over, we thought like, okay, now we need to bring this live as well. So we also started some live events where there's one of these activities normally. So it's a running race or a hiking together with the kids, or a bike race. So first you do the race, and then it's like a family festival around it as well. So cool. And we got EU funded to host this in a few countries in Europe already.
Yeah. So you did it physically, right?
Yeah.
Which cities?
So we have done it in in an island called Kirk in Punat, which is in Croatia. So that's like a remote island, but great. It was a great event. I think we had about 150 dads plus their kids coming to the race, and then like about 1,000 or 1,500 people in total in the festival. So it's quite big. We also held it in Stockholm together with the organization called Barncancerfonden, the Swedish
let's say cancer
childhood cancer foundation to collect money for them. And then we also held it in Bulgaria, in a little bit outside of Sofia.
That's amazing. Tell me about like the logistic. How do you plan? How many are you now in the team?
So actually, it's just me and the co-founder who are like, we are the team, and then we get volunteers and some fathers or other people to support on the local events. And also with the local events, with the EU funds, we also have co-partners in different countries then.
So tell me, how do you plan like for this big event?
Yeah, so basically first we draft like what do we want to do, what is the activity, where do we want to host it, how should the course look like, and then we set up like different partners who can come also and hold activities in events as well. And then we announce it,
is it easier now to get dads joining the events compared to before?
I think now it's a bit easier because it's already got a bit established. We had it like live events last year, and this year is the second year we are hosting live events. And also because the year before that we held it virtually, so people already get to know a little bit about the concept. But of course, it takes some time when it's something totally new, and people have not heard about it before. So we'll see. We didn't do the first live event yet this year, but it's coming up soon.
When is it?
So the first one will be in Croatia again in the end of April, 29th to 30th of April.
Cool.
And then we're hosting another one in Stockholm, 18th of June in Hagaparken. Again, together with Barncancerfonden. And also 9th of June, we're hosting one in the Netherlands, in a small village called Franeker.
That's cool.
An hour or so from Amsterdam.
But then I will publish like this episode 1 month before the event, so people or dads have time to plan.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole idea with the Dadathon is also like not that you should only be physical activity during the event, but also prepare for it.
It's like Olympic Games.
A little bit. So you prepare a little bit for it, and then you come for the event, and hopefully you think it's so much fun to move with your kids that you continue doing that as well. And actually, we got feedback because it's for dads and kids of all ages, actually.
So not only like the newborn.
No, exactly. So for the virtual event, for instance, it was a dad who reached out after who was running it with his teenage daughters. And we also have different distances you can choose. So like all levels are welcome. And of course, you can also walk if you can't run for any reason. It's the most important. It's not the time is not important. It's that you're actually doing it, the gathering, and that you're actually out together with your kids, spending quality time. So we normally have prizes for either like the most inspiring post on social media, or if it's live events, like the most creative finisher pose. So it's all about having fun, basically.
Do you give like a certificate? You're a good dad.
We get a diploma if you finish the whole Dadathon, and if you come to the live events, you also get medals and things like this.
That's amazing. So how do you feel now? Like, do you feel that you achieve your goal, like filling the gap?
I mean, we're just in the start. Like the organization started about 2 years ago, and I've been working full time with other things like video producer and studio producer and things like this. So I've been taking this on my spare time. But right now I will focus more on it. Right now I work as a studio video producer, head of studio video productions at AFRY. But I decided to quit to focus more on DaddyHood because we have so many ideas of things that we can create, and we really see the need. So I really need to dedicate my whole heart into it to make it grow and realize a lot of our ideas.
And this is focusing on dads in Europe, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there like other organization, like let's say in the US or I don't know, other part of the world?
Yes, I mean they are organization for fathers. So I'm saying they're I'm not saying that there's nothing out there, but I felt that there is more that can be done. And our idea is to create like this European network also, where you can like get in touch with dads from different countries and, you know, get inspiration in different ways from different countries as well, but also locally. So we try to be both like local presence, but also more international, global. Yeah. And for the virtual Dadathon, everyone is welcome. So we also had dads joining from the US and Asia and South Africa and, you know, different countries.
That's amazing. So how do you keep like the network together? Do you have like a Facebook group or Slack channel, Discord?
Yeah, so we have Facebook group, and then so that's where, you know, you can write things and get advices and things like that. But then also on social media and then on the live events. But again, we want to create much more live events, and not only sports events but also gatherings, just where you can do, you know, art or other things together with your kids, and also just do like sharing circles for dads, like have weekends for fathers and kids to bond and do different activities together and things like that. So
this is what like I'm working with urban planning, and we talk always about like the software, the people, and then the hardware, the physical environment, like what we build and so on. So you're doing the software, you know, like creating this atmosphere, gathering, bringing people together. But I love also to ask you about the hardware. You as a dad with your child, like what challenges you faced in the city? You lived in which cities?
So yeah, with my child, I lived in Brussels for his first 2 years, and then in Stockholm. So I think in Brussels, the challenge there, I would say, was that it's not very bike friendly city, for instance. So you're quite dependent on having a car or going with public transport. But personally, I really like biking, or you know, also just walking on the sidewalks. Like it was quite hard sometimes to walk on the sidewalks there, because the streets were not really made for walking with strollers or whatever. So I think that's one thing that can improve. In general, also like a shout out to restaurants or whatever is also that it's really a lack of changing tables and rooms for fathers. It's still quite often that it's only changing tables at the women's toilets, for instance. Which is also really, you know, unequal, and feels weird sometimes that you have to go into the women's toilet to change the diaper of your baby. So that's something still also in Sweden that is happening.
Also. More like aspect that you faced was a challenge. Now you're talking about like accessibility, walking, and also like the changing room and the bathrooms.
No, but in general, I think in many countries, I think there should be more open playgrounds and things like this also, that is easy accessible and that you can go to 24/7. In Brussels, I didn't find so many of these. In Stockholm, it's much more.
Like outdoor playground, or you mean indoor?
Outdoor playground, but actually also indoor playground is a lack, I would say. That's something you normally have to pay for to go to, which I think it's that's a pity, because then it's not accessible for everyone.
That's true.
So that's something also that I think should be improved, that is especially in the north, where it's like, I mean, of course you can be in the playground in winter, but if it's 15 minus outside, it's not so much fun to stand there for 2 hours with your child, right? So
that's true. How do you feel like taking public transportation? Is it easy to do that?
In general, I think it's quite easy. I haven't actually done it that much because normally I've been biking with him or taking the car, but sometimes of course we've been taking public transport. But I think in Stockholm at least it's good, but not during rush hours.
Of course. I cannot have a place in the public transport.
So come with a stroller then, and that's like impossible.
Do you feel like some people a bit like not so respectful during the rush hours, like they don't really pay attention that you're a dad with a baby stroller and so on?
Sometimes I really feel like that.
Do you experience that?
I experienced that, and I think I'm surprised sometimes how unrespectful people are, and you know, like rushing before you to the elevator or stuff like this sometimes, and it was like, hello.
So how do you feel? Like what's your reaction at that moment?
No, then I feel a bit upset, and also that it's like very unrespectful actually, and I feel very unseen. And I feel like I doing the opposite. Like if I see a mother or a father with a child, I really try to help them. I try to help them if they need help with the stroller to carry it up through the stairs or get out from the subway or whatever. So I wish people were a bit more loving and caring when they see parents with small kids.
Yeah. And like many people listening to you working with urban planning and urban design, what should we think about when we plan cities and design cities?
No, but I think in general, as I already mentioned, like the accessibility, that it should be like the sidewalk should be a bit wide so you can actually walk with a stroller, and also that it's not so bumpy, like with these bricks or stones or things like this.
You mean like the material on the surface?
Yeah, exactly. That is actually easy to walk with a stroller also, but also to make cities more bike friendly, and because I think that's the nicest way to get around, both for you as a dad, but also for the kids, because you're outside, you get to see much more than to, if it's possible, than to jump into a subway or go into the car.
Yeah. So like for you, it's a kind of difficult to walk when it's like old town with these like kind of stones.
Yeah, exactly. That's not
asphalt like the perfect.
Yeah, I would say asphalt
or something like just
asphalt or paved or something that is smooth. To walk on. And in general, I think cities could be a bit more playful.
In which way?
No, but to have it doesn't have to be big playgrounds, but it can just be a stop where it's like a little bit of like a mini playground or whatever, or a painting of something beautiful on the wall or some things like this. Because I noticed the kids, they pay attention to so much details, and they always bring you back into like the moment also of like, wow, look at this wall, such a beautiful wall, and look at this duck or whatever. But just to create a little bit more playful cities with like small elements of creativity or things to look at or to play with or whatever. That would be great.
So like these objects create more like a kind of a conversation between you and your child, or like a moment to stand and talk.
Yeah, exactly. A moment to stand and talk, or just have a break to play a little bit, and these kind of things. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah. So like more art installation or objects around the city.
Yeah, exactly. Or small playgrounds, or just something that you can stop by for like 5 minutes and play a little bit with before you move on.
Okay. Because like, tell me, do children get bored if you like have a very long wall? Let's say if you're going from A to B without having this like the stations in between, like to play or to talk.
Yeah, I think, sometimes they get bored. Yes, that's true. And I mean, of course, you can give them a toy or something like this as well. But I think it's nice to experience your city together with your child. And then to have all these small elements in the city as well would be great. And then maybe you can even make like a little treasure hunt where you go like, okay, now we go to this to look at this. And then we go to the second place. And then we go to the third place. And, create a little bit fun activities on the way as well.
Like make a story also.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you mentioned you bike. Which kind of bike do you use? Is it like the one with a like a baby, what do you call it, carriage behind?
Yeah, exactly. So I have both. I have one with like a big carriage, so to say. Carriot, it's called.
Carriot, okay.
And then or it's a bike seat. So I have both actually.
And both are like convenient to bike. Let's say if you have like an enough and wide bike line.
Yeah, the Carriot is a bit wider, so then you need wider bike lanes as well.
Okay.
And that's, for instance, the Brussels. They were like really small, if they were even having bike lanes. Like quite often they were not. So I didn't even dare to bike with him in many places because you were so close to the traffic, and that if there were bike lanes, they were small or they were none. So
yeah. Do you let's say if you have the chance to talk to a traffic planner, they're listening to you as well. Do you prefer to have a separated bike path, like separated physically?
Yeah.
Or no, you're fine with just having like a line between you and the like cars or other traffic?
No, I think it would be better to have a separate bike lane because that feels safer than that you're driving with your child. next to the cars, I feel more confident if it's a separate bike lane for sure. And I think, from what I heard, a lot of parents are scared to bike with the kids in the city because they think it's dangerous, right? So if it would be a separate bike lane, I'm sure more parents would take the bike instead to bring their kids to the kindergarten or to school or whatever.
Yeah. I think you have seen, like, because there are different ways to separate the bike lane from the other traffic. Like, there are just like a small stones, or sometimes there are trees.
Yeah.
So you have like a really big distance between you and the cars. So which one you prefer and you think is suitable for you to bike with your child?
I think it doesn't really matter as long as it's separated, I would say. So as long as you don't feel that you're just next to the cars or things like this. Because I get an experience in Brussels where luckily I was biking with myself, but then it was like a really small bike lane in between the two different roads.
Yeah.
Then a car just tried to, drive to the right side of the road, and he smashed me into another car. Luckily, I didn't get more injured than I started bleeding and stuff like that. But so,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And talking about playground, what is, let's say, the most likely activities that you want to see as a dad?
No, but I think playgrounds in general, I mean, it's good if there are different activities so the kids don't get bored, so they can do different things like swings, this kind of different houses that you can explore. Like ideally, there are also some toys there as well that they can borrow. But also what we try to inspire is like to also get the parents into the game as well. So also some, playgrounds where you think that actually here could the parents can also be there, because sometimes I experience like some playgrounds are really just made for the kids. So if they want you to come up inside the playground or whatever, you can't because it's too small, right? I have to crawl and things like this. I mean, I could do it because I'm quite fit, but a lot of parents don't do that, right?
That's true. So more like different programs, like program the playground with different activities, but also make it some way fitting to the adults as well.
Exactly.
Like to engage them as well.
Exactly. Because I think also the adults would benefit from playing a bit more. It's a bit sad now because I feel like a lot of parents, they're sitting on a bench when the kids are at the playground. And I mean, of course, it's nice to have a little break sometimes to get the kids to play, but I feel like everyone could benefit from playing as well. It's fun to treat your inner child as well.
Because sometimes now I see in different playgrounds, like parents, they leave their child like playing and they sit, let's say, on their phone. As you mentioned, sometimes they need the break. Of course, we respect that. But sometimes I feel like it's sad that the design of the playground cut this engagement, so you have to sit on the bench and just wait.
Exactly.
So you lose the connection with your child. You cannot really be engaged in the same play or game or activity.
Exactly. So I think, a really nice playground that I liked here in Stockholm, it's above Liljeholmskajen in Liljeholmen, which is like kind of incorporated in the nature as well. So it feels like you're in the nature and it's like really designed. So, the parents can also play there. You can like practice your balance. It's kind of like
you like such stuff, huh? Do you, let's say, if you want to take your kid, do you take him to the nature or to like a programmed playground in the city? What do you prefer and why?
Ideally, I love the nature. So if I can, I take him out to nature and play in nature as well, because that's so much fun to play also with your creativity and things you find in nature. But of course, playgrounds is also great. And if you're in the city center, then that's where you go, right? It's not to the nature. So I think a combination of both.
So what do you think, like, let's talk about Stockholm now. What do you think some playgrounds lacking?
But I do think some playgrounds are lacking the opportunity for fathers or parents to be more involved in the game or in the activity as well. Some of them are quite plain as well. It might just be a swing and one slide and that's it. So it's really fun when it's like so much to explore, like where it feels almost like a little Tivoli or something like this. Like it's all these small houses that they can go into or different activities they can do. they can try to be I don't know, like a handyman or a chef or whatever, where you create all this like for the fantasy also.
Exactly. Yeah. We have a big problem when it comes to schools, and it's about parents drive their kids because they don't trust like the traffic and the safety and so on. What do you think about this issue?
Yeah.
Like, and how maybe can we solve it?
Yeah, so I think as mentioned before, like if it would be safer bike lanes, I think much more parents would bike with their kids to school or kindergartens. And then of course it depends where you live and how far distance you have to the school and kindergarten and so, but and then again also, I mean, because that's the problem when it's rush hour, right? It's harder with the kids, but if you need to drop them before school, then you need to go to rush hour. So I'm not sure how to solve that with the public transports, but I mean, I think maybe then that's more like to really, I don't know, make even more of these kids and parents sections maybe in the buses. I mean, there are small places sometimes for the stroller, but maybe have more of these.
Like a bigger one?
Yeah, bigger ones, so more parents can fit. I don't know, but that's a hard one. So
yeah, because like usually we talk also about changing behaviors, and usually in some schools, parents causing the problem of like this unsafe trafficking. So how can we change their behaviors? Like, I think maybe DaddyHood can play some part of this, like educating and telling like, you don't need really to drive your cars, because all of you, when you drive the cars, you're causing a problem.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, but one thing that I can say about that is like, as you said, we try to inspire fathers and kids to more healthy habits. And of course, like, the daily movement of taking the bike or walking to school instead, where you actually then maybe go up. I mean, if you wake up 20 minutes earlier, then you might have time to actually walk your kid to school or take the bike instead. And then you are physically moving together, you're outside, you have more time to bond than if you sit in the car for 5 minutes. So I think that's something to think about.
Yeah.
That I actually see this as a good opportunity to move and to have quality time.
Exactly. So what skills should we as urban planners, architects learn?
What skills?
We talked about what should we think about now when we plan cities. What should we, like, what skills should maybe we need to learn or maybe develop?
No, but I think I mean, maybe do a research with parents. What do they actually need to have more kids friendly and parents friendly cities? But as I said, like, and then also try to think of the parents approach to how a city should be built. Okay, they walk with strollers. They might have even 2 kids that they have to have a really wide stroller. Okay, how could they walk or bike to school instead of taking the car?
Interesting. What makes you sad in your city? Like when you're out, when you're with your child?
Yeah, what makes me sad? I mean, I think what makes me sad sometimes is like the disrespect. Sometimes, as I mentioned, like people are not really respecting that you're walking there with a stroller or carrying your child or whatever. But that's more like on a human, level. But city-wise, I think, for instance, in Brussels, I get sad that it was like, not so easy to walk around or bike with your child. But in general, also, like if it would be more creativity and playful places in the city as well, that would be more fun.
Yeah. And what makes you happy?
What makes me happy is, I mean, in Stockholm, for instance, I think Stockholm is a good child-friendly city. It's like playgrounds everywhere. So it's so nice. Like you can go for a walk and then you can pass by like 10 playgrounds on the way, which is amazing. So I think that's something some cities could take after, like to have more playgrounds and places where kids can play in a safe environment as well.
Yeah. I love to hear from you. Like if we wanted to make a dad-friendly city, what are the elements that this city should include? Maybe like you can give us a list.
Okay, so here's the list. No, but more like wider and like more plain pavements for sidewalks or
Like
for
flat.
flat sidewalks or bike lanes that are also that is separated from the car road, so it feels safer. More playful. I would say more playful environment in general, like creativity, small places where you can look at things or just experiment or try things. And thirdly, what should I say about thirdly? No, but in general also, I mean, to incorporate nature more in the cities as well.
Okay.
Because I think for the big cities, it's so important for everyone, but also for the kids that there are trees and plants and they can stop and look and, you can talk about like this flower is called this or whatever, this kind of stuff.
Like when it comes to safety, what makes you let your kid go and play by himself, and what makes you like not letting your kid go out and so on? How do you think as a dad?
Well, I think it's good. It depends a little bit of the age of the child, but in general, I mean, it's good when playgrounds are a little bit like with fence or something that it's guarding them from just running outside on the road or things like that. So a little bit that it's like at least something that you can close, so you know that the kid can run around there and they will not be run over by a bike or a car or things like that.
Yeah. So you're more afraid that your kid go out and some cars or bike like do the accident.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's say, what if there were no cars and bikes? Is it fine like to have like an open playground?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine to have an open playground, but of course, as a parent, you should pay attention a little bit what your kids are doing, so they're not, climbing up on the top roof and jumping down with their head first.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I'm also for, letting your kids experiment and be free, because I also noticed that there are quite many parents are a little bit too much overprotected.
Yeah. This is what I want to talk about, like this overprotection.
Yeah.
Why like so?
Yeah, I think it seems like a lot of parents are really, really scared that the kids will fall and hurt themselves or injure themselves and things like this. But what we have done with our son is that, especially in this like guarded playgrounds or whatever, like just to let him run free. And of course, I'm around and I play with him as well, but I'm not going like, oh, watch your step there. Oh, be careful, be careful. And like, walking around him with my arms and like trying to make him not fall. Yeah. And I think this has really been beneficial for him, because since he's been a baby, he's been so confident with his own body, and he's like, have so much body control. He was starting, walking up mountains sometimes at the playgrounds, and I was just behind him, but not going like, oh, watch out. So he then was like a little bit ahead of kids in his age. And I think that's one reason that we let him to explore. And I mean, sometimes he fell a little bit, but he stepped up again and continued playing. And
this is part of the learning process.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you also we talked about like safety, but let's talk about more of this when it's dark and so on. Do you also like think a lot about this, like not letting your child when it's too dark and because you're afraid of something gonna happen?
Yeah, of course. I mean, lights are super important at the playgrounds, right? And then that could also prolong for how long you can be out playing. So have good lights at the playgrounds and in the city in general as well, of course. That would feel safer and better for everyone involved, but especially for parents, I would say.
Yeah, interesting. So what is the next step for DaddyHood?
So the next step is that we want to bring the Dadathon events to much more countries, to do these live events as well. And then we're going to create these camps for fathers and kids to do activities together for a weekend and to bond. We are about to start more like a membership program as well, where you get some benefits if you're a member, and you get access to certain activities and things like this. And yeah, we have so many ideas. We want to do like courses also for high school students, speaking about equal parenting and to inspire already from a young age to plant the seed of like, okay, what is a present father? What is equal parenting about? What are the pros and cons? How cool is it actually to be a present father? How great it, like, so you experience so much things when you're actually there with your child instead of, because it still feels like in many countries it's still this traditional norm that you're a good father if you bring home cash, if you bring home money for the family, then you're a good father. But this is also a norm that we're trying to change, because all the research shows how important it is for the kids' development that both parents are present already from the start, not jumping in when the child is 7 and wants to kick some football with you. So
amazing. So thanks for sharing your insights. And now moving to the second section is about you. So tell me more about your childhood. How was it like compared to now? Is it like same, no big difference?
Well, what I experienced from my childhood, especially becoming a little bit older, I think like it was much more of spontaneous play and sports, for instance. Like there was much more places also for that, actually, for spontaneous sport. So I was very active as a child. I loved different sport activities. So we just met at like, okay, let's meet at the football pitch at 5. And then we play football all together. And, kids from, the whole area just came and played football or basketball or things like this. It feels like it's less opportunities like that nowadays. It's much more that you have to join a sports club to be able to do sports. And I was also in sports clubs, but I really, really enjoyed, this more playful, getting together with different people. It was a great way to know different people in the area you lived as well, of different ages as well.
Exactly.
So I think that's also something to consider, to not take away all these spontaneous sports fields, or like to have them open if it's a sport field that also clubs are using, but to make sure that there are dedicated times where anyone can use it.
Yeah, exactly. You remind me also of my childhood. We were in Baghdad and we played in the streets. And as you mentioned, like you meet so many different kids from the neighborhood, different ages, and that's how you create like your network as a child.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so good, like to have you have like people around you, not only your own family.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's super important to still have these environments open. And as you say, it could also be in the streets. We also just put
like a grass or something.
Grass or whatever. But to have spaces where you could actually gather with different kids from all different ages and play and do sports.
And Thomas, what motivates you to do this?
I feel what motivates me is that I feel that, it's as I said, like all the research shows the benefits for the kids, the benefits for the whole family, for the mothers, for the fathers, for the society as well. Because if the kids get a better opportunity in life and feel safe and that they have support from both fathers, they're much more likely to not drop out of schools, get into criminality, or also mental health and physical health is like better than if you're not. In general. So for me, that's my drive. I feel like if I could just get a few dads more present in the kids' lives, then their life will improve, and hopefully they will also take that to the next generation as well. And moving forward with that, then we will also get more equal society as well.
True. And what do you want people to say about you 100 years from now? Let's say 2000. I don't know, 2120 or 23.
Yeah, I think if people could remember me as someone who did something that had an impact on society, that was improving kids and families' lives, and also was a drive for societal changes of the norms. Then I would die happy.
Hopefully people will say this about you. So now tell me, like it's a question with two sides. Something you did in your career and you're super proud of. Then something you did in your career and you regret it so much.
Well, that's a hard one. I feel I mean, one thing that I was super proud of that took a lot of energy and was really a life-changing, event actually was that I was trying to live as a professional athlete for 1 year, trying to see how good I could become as at 800 meters. So I did it as a journalistic experiment. And at the same time, I was creating this TV show where you could follow me doing this. At the same time, I was following different people with different goals in different sports. Everything from, an old lady who wanted to run her first marathon to a Thai boxer who had some, difficulties with the mental aspect of the game. And, so were different like angles of different people.
Wow.
And at the same time, I was still working full-time as a journalist at TV. So it was quite busy year.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I was doing like 6 to 14 workouts per week.
Wow.
And producing this TV show and working full-time as well.
Oh my God.
So that was maybe the only thing that, was not really full in as a professional athlete, because I didn't get all the recovery maybe that I needed. But I'm proud that I did this. I learned so much about myself, about my body.
Amazing.
That also general led till that I started working much more with running, launching a running community for ASICS called ASICS Frontrunner in the Nordics.
Nice.
Worked with that community globally as content manager later. So it was also like a little bit of a life-changing event.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
And something you regret?
Something I regret. Well, I mean, maybe I did one stupid thing once. So I got into a Turkish secret prison, actually.
No, really?
For one night.
Tell us the details.
So I was studying international journalism as well for 1 year abroad. And then my final project was a documentary about Cyprus. And the conflict there, because they were gonna hold the presidency of the EU, and I felt it was a bit strange that they, were going to do that, because they're still, divided country and in a conflict. So I was doing a lot of research about that, and then I decided to make a documentary in the highlight of that they were gonna hold the presidency to just tell the story of what is the situation today. And there's a famous city called Famagusta, who it was kind of like the Monaco of Cyprus.
Oh wow! Cool.
But then when the war came in the 70s, it just basically has been left like that. So it's kind of like if you watch the movie I Am Legend, it's like it's trees growing inside the cars and things like this.
Okay.
So it's really like abandoned, and it's a symbol basically, like it's a big symbol of this war, because it was the pride of Cyprus, and now it's just falling, and it's only the Turkish army and the UN who have access to the city as it is. So I felt like I need to somehow tell that story. So I went there, and I was just standing, a bit further away from the city, but just standing in front of the camera, telling like, behind me is the famous Famagusta. This happened in the 70s, But it was not allowed because it's a military area, so you're not allowed to take photos there. That was a bit stupid.
You didn't even have the permission to.
No, I didn't have a permission. So, but I thought like I'm just on a distance far away. It should be fine. But it was not. So
they came to you. They took you to.
And I was supposed to go to military court and things like that. But in the end, it's sorted out. So but I had to spend one night in a Turkish secret prison.
Yeah.
So that was an experience.
Yeah. Oh, too much.
But that was stupid of me, of course. I mean, that was like I should have not gone there. But
if you choose to do another profession, like you tell me now, you try to like live like a professional. But let's say, apart from what you mentioned, if you can choose to try to be something else, like a profession, what would you like to try?
Well, I mean, DaddyHood is really my drive now. That's my goal, and that's kind of like a new profession. I mean, I've been doing it voluntarily, so it's kind of like a new step as well to really make this grow and to give it my all. But in general, I used to do acting when I was younger.
Acting?
Yeah.
Wow.
So like I'm thinking like maybe I should still give that a chance as well. So maybe somehow get back to acting.
Yeah.
or music in general. I also used to sing in a band a little bit, but not professionally.
Cool,
So.
cool. Acting, huh?
Mm.
In a Hollywood movie, maybe?
Yeah, well, I had a little small part in the Oscars-nominated movie called Evil, Ondskan,
Really?
Swedish movie.
Yeah.
It's a book from a Swedish author called Jan Guillou,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a small part. I was like a classmate of the main actor, but I had like two lines.
That's
but,
good, no?
Yeah. I was. Everyone in school know me because of that. So in gymnasium.
Yeah. Awesome. So, and if you choose to be something else than being a human, what would you like to be, and why?
I think I would like to be an eagle.
Eagle.
Yeah.
Because of
I don't know, it just looks like they're so beautiful and free when they're flying.
Yeah.
And just take the day as it comes and just fly around and check out the areas. And I don't know, it just looks like it feels like they have such a free life.
Yeah. They are also strong.
They are also strong. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. Now we're in the last chapter of this episode, and it's about you giving messages. So the first question is that you give a message to yourself. So imagine here is a mirror and you're looking at yourself. What is your message to Thomas?
So my message to Thomas is kind of like manifesting things.
Okay.
So my message would be, Thomas, you will make DaddyHood Europe grow into a really big international organization that really gonna make a change and impact in this world.
I love it. And 3 takeaway messages to our listeners.
I would say one thing that really has been following me, actually, that has been also helpful is a phrase that my acting teacher from school, when I was a teenager, told us. When we were on stage, he was like, you just have to throw yourself out there. It's going to be scary. You might be so nervous and scared and maybe feeling like I'm not going to go out on stage, but just throw yourself out there. And that's something that I've been taking with me in everyday life. So like in creating an organization, becoming a news host of sometimes, 100,000 people watching when you're live. Like first time I was so scared that I felt like I'm not doing this, I'm going home. But then I was like, okay, throw yourself out there. And that's where I found so much beauty of actually taking that step of like getting out of your comfort zone, jumping over there, and then feel like, wow, this was great.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I would say, throw yourself out there, and also believe in yourself. That's another motto that I also been bringing with me. I read a book when I was playing football, sports psychology, and it said, I want to do it, I dare to do it, I can do it. I want to do it, I dare to do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
So that's also something that I'm reminding myself sometimes when I hesitate or... And the third thing is have fun. Because if you have fun and if you like what you do, then you will get the results.
True. And the last question in this episode is going to be you asking it. So from my side, I don't have more questions. Now it's your time to ask a question to me and to the listeners.
So I would ask you, what do you really want from life? Are you doing that?
Okay, what do you want, and are you really doing that?
Yeah.
To achieve what you want to?
Yeah.
Okay, good question. Well, Thomas, thank you so much for coming, for sharing with us your story. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I promise you, as soon as I get a child, I will join the organization and the network.
You're so welcome, Mustafa. Thanks for having me.